This video is entitled Space A Trip No-Go. I come from an Army background, and we throw that term no-go around a lot. And generally it's used to describe failure when a soldier is conducting testing of one kind or another. But oftentimes it's used more broadly to describe a situation or even an unflattering description of an individual or his or her general performance. I know that you might expect that I would only bring trip reports that were a great success, but not today, not this time. Today, we're going to talk about my Space A fail, my Space A no-go. So let's jump right into it. I'd like to share an overview of a recent, very loosely planned Space A trip that I was considering that I ended up canceling. For me, in real time, this all played out in the last 3 to 5 days. However, if you're watching this video in 6 or 12 months, it's going to be ancient history for you, but that doesn't matter. This mission got scrubbed. For that reason, it's a Space A trip no-go. What I wanted to do today was just share some things about my approach to potential Space A trips and some of the things and experiences that I would like to explore in the future using military Space A. On June 27, I submitted my request for sign-up for Space A travel from Travis Air Force Base. And at the same time, I submitted a sign-up for possible return trip from Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam because I was anticipating a most likely trip to Hawaii. I signed up in part because my travel buddy Chris and I were throwing around the idea of a trip in this time frame, and we wanted to be ready to go if circumstances permitted travel. As many of you know, with AMC, most signups for military Space A travel will expire after 60 days. And as those 60 days within your signup expire, your status becomes more and more competitive within your category. And if you don't travel within that time frame on day 61, your signup expires. So for me, the clock was ticking. So like everybody else, during the summer season, we were juggling family vacations, obligations, and examining when we might be able to go somewhere using Space A. And it was a busy time, as it always is, but we wanted to give it a shot. Now, before you critique my decision-making, I recognize that this time frame falls squarely in the PCS travel season. And as we all know, that's very risky business for would-be Space A travelers. PCS season is fraught with hazards, delays, and excess costs that can result from the many potential interruptions of planned Space A travel. This is particularly true for Cat 6 travelers like me. Now, if you're not familiar with PCS season, I've done a whole video on exactly that right here. So you should click on it and check that out. Now, in spite of this being PCS season, there are some mitigating factors that make some routes accessible and possible. For example, there are time frames when there are multiple flights departing Travis Air Force Base for Hawaii, and on those days there could be in excess of 150 or more seats available in total. So on days like that, even if you don't get selected for the first flight, odds are pretty good you're going to get selected for one of them. Additionally, if you review the patterns on the roll call, you can identify some routes that are just in low demand. As a result, you're likely to have a successful trip even during the dreaded PCS season. One such route is Travis Air Force Base to Kelly Field, Texas, located at Lackland in San Antonio. So given the fact that I am once again retired and have flexibility of schedule, I felt that the sign-up was worth doing and was excited about the possibility of putting together a trip somewhere. Knowing the recurring or regular routes from Travis Air Force Base, I was anticipating a likely trip to Oahu, Hawaii, spending just a few days there and getting back to California either by way of a Space A flight or commercially. And in my opinion, when you have an opportunity to go to Hawaii, you should always go to Hawaii. It's always a great idea. The other option that I've been loosely planning for some time is a trip to Texas by way of Kelly Field there at Lackland. This route takes you into San Antonio, Texas, and as it turns out, that is a mere 86 miles from the city of Austin, Texas. Now, Austin has a reputation for its food culture, and as a foodie myself and a huge fan of barbecue, I'd previously watched a YouTube video about a group of YouTubers from the UK who traveled all the way up to Texas just to sample real Texas barbecue. They traveled all the way to Texas to sample Terry Black's authentic Texas barbecue. And based on that video and their experience, I committed to making a trip myself to sample it for myself. So a Texas trip specifically for barbecue is on my agenda. A third trip that I was considering and still am was a trip from Travis Air Force Base to Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson, which is just outside of Anchorage, Alaska. I'd like to go there for a number of reasons. Chiefly, I've never been to Alaska, and I've been looking for an opportunity to make that trip. And so I was open to that option as well. Turns out there's tons of things to do in the immediate vicinity of Anchorage, and of course, lots of great food to sample. And when I do get to travel to Anchorage eventually, I'll be preparing a video to share that here with you. Again, my sign-up date was set to expire this week on Tuesday, August 26th. And because I had an obligation on Sunday here locally, that meant my only travel dates remaining on the sign-up were Monday or Tuesday, the 26th. And given the fact that as Space A travelers, we only have visibility on available flights 72 hours in advance, I began watching the 72-hour schedule for Travis Air Force Base closely on Saturday. And the only thing that was listed at that point was a Monday flight to Charleston, South Carolina. And although I do want to make a trip there at some point, I wasn't prepared to go that far this time, as I was looking for something that was more West Coast centered. Now on Sunday, I got visibility on the 72-hour schedule featuring 3 flights from Travis Air Force Base for Tuesday. Those flights being to Kelly Field, Texas, Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson, also known as Anchorage, Alaska, and Joint Base Lewis-McChord, Washington, which is right next to Seattle. So this representing the last day of my sign-up before it expired. Obviously, Hawaii was now off the table. There were no flights going there, and that was very sad. So I got onto Google Flights and began checking the costs of commercial return flights from Anchorage. And I found that for the two of us, my wife and I, the most competitive airfares would run about $900. And although hotels were fairly competitively priced in this time frame, the cost of those flights turned me off. So a trip to Anchorage, for now, is on hold. Then I took a close look at the flight schedule to Kelly Field, Texas. And the problem with this option was the fact that it was scheduled for roll call just after 2 a.m. And for me, that's a problem. Now, I don't mind getting up early, and I don't mind staying up late. What I do mind is staying up all night. That doesn't appeal to me at all. So Texas was off the table for now. But trust me when I tell you again, you'll be seeing a video profiling my trip to Texas for the purpose of sampling Terry Black's Texas barbecue in the future. That's going to happen. The third and final flight option that was available to me in this time frame was the flight to Joint Base Lewis-McChord, Washington. The problem with this option was that, although the commercial flight coming back were reasonably priced, I would have had to stick around until Saturday, so that would have been 4 days on the ground. And the cost of lodging in the local area during this time frame would have been very, very high. Ultimately, just more than I was interested in paying to go to Seattle. So that was my process, and it was informed by the fact that we were preparing to take our new camp trailer up into the mountains for 1 week in early September, and I'm also reserving funds for an upcoming October trip to Mexico. So all of those factors taken in combination resulted in me pressing pause on my Space A trip for now. And that's why I call this trip a Space A no-go. So in spite of being a no-go this time, I look forward to sharing future trips and adventures, both Space A and non-Space A, here with you. If you've had a Space A travel experience recently, maybe a very successful trip or maybe a Space A fail, I don't know, please share it with us here in the comments below. I would love to hear about it. And as always, thank you for being here. If you find value in videos like this, I hope that you'll take a moment to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Subscribing really helps me out a lot. And of course, I appreciate it. Thanks again for being here, and I look forward to seeing you in the terminal.